Lildurk is one of the most notorious rappers from the Chicago drill era of hip-hop music, with a couple of criminal records and never snitched. At around 5:45 a.m. on the 5th February 2019, Lildurk, King Von, and Bayzoo would get into a verbal altercation with a man in the parking lot of the Varsity, a popular restaurant located in the town of Atlanta. His name was Alexander Weatherspoon, a 23-year-old man who was known for scamming and cracking cards on the east side of Chicago. Witnesses said it soon turned into violence after 13 shots were fired, hitting Alexander Weatherspoon once in his femoral artery. Witnesses scrambled and called 911, and emergency services quickly arrived at the crime scene and immediately transported Alexander Weatherspoon to the Atlanta Medical Center for emergency surgery while the detectives start to investigate the crime scene and to speak to any possible witnesses. The on-scene investigation would reveal that 13 shell casings were found on the scene, coming from both a pistol and a rifle. A 9mm handgun was also found nearby. This case went cold for almost 3 months, but on May 4th of 2019, King Von will be tackled and arrested by the Chicago police on the shooting related back in 2019. 9 days later, Bayzoo would also be arrested by the Chicago police with the charge being fugitive from justice on the state warrant. Then, on 29 May 2019, the Atlanta police would release an arrest warrant for the final suspect in the case, Lildurk. The warrant will be charging Lildurk with 5 felonies, a major one being an attempt of murder. And a charge of that sentence usually carries 10 to 20 years in jail. The same day the arrest warrant was issued, Lildurk would release a song, Turn Myself In. The following day, Lildurk would meet at his lawyer's office to do an interview with WSB TV, stating that he had nothing to hide and nothing to run from. Lildurk proceeded to surrender himself to the authorities on the Fulton County Jail later that night. King Von, Bayzoo, and Lildurk would all remain in custody until further notice. Lildurk and King Von would finally appear in front of Fulton County Judge, where they would go over the charges and briefly discuss the evidence they had for arresting King Von and Lildurk. An Atlanta Police Department detective will take the stand and claim that one of the witnesses he talked to was a female who was talking to Lildurk and King Von when the incident took place. She claimed that a fight broke up out of the car in front of them and then saw Lildurk pull out his firearm while shots could be heard. Detectives also told the court that Alexander also had a firearm with him at the time of incident, and it's completely possible that Alexander Weatherspoon could have fired the first shot. Prosecutors will define the case as gang-related and even had a Chicago police captain fly all the way to Atlanta to confirm to the court that Lildurk and King Von were documented members of Black Disciples. At the end of the court hearing, it was determined that King Von and Lildurk will remain in custody. 6 days later, another court hearing, prosecutors will submit a request to the judge to not give Lildurk a bond and let him remain in custody until further notice, and the judge will decline the prosecutor's request, claiming that even though the charges against Lildurk are serious, he will grant him a $250,000 bond due to the fact that he turned himself in and doesn't seem to be dodging any type of arrest, as long as he wears an ankle monitor, follows curfew, and stays away from firearms. Later that night, Lildurk would excitedly go on Instagram as he is released to jail. King Von would also be released from jail on a $300,000 bond. While out on bond, Lildurk and King Von were no longer able to speak to each other, and both seemed to move a different way after their release. Lildurk would seem to slow and focus more on his career, but King Von would continue to live a fast and dangerous lifestyle. Fans across the world were now believing that Lildurk is the most dangerous man in hip-hop. After some moments later, King Von is murdered, and Lildurk's brother is also murdered, and trouble continues to follow Lildurk after his Atlanta mansion was being broken in by alleged enemies. And his opponents were doing this because Lildurk wasn't being able to be available, so now they were using his closest people to reach him as his weak point. Shots were reportedly fired in the home by Durk's girlfriend India, but it was rumored that it was just a cover-up to prevent Lildurk from being arrested, since he was already a felon on bond. With all this chaos going, it left most fans wondering what happened to Lildurk, King Von, and Bezu's case in Atlanta. Well, back in 2019, the victim of the case, Alexander, was arrested on federal charges after allegedly stealing multiple identities and using them to obtain money fraudulently in order to purchase various luxurious items. On October 2022, it would officially announce him put all the blame of shooting on King Von since he had passed away. Another part worth mentioning is about Pacquiao. In order to take the eyes of the Fed off him so he can peacefully carry out his gang activities, Lildurk did what no Chicago gangster has ever done before. He hired a look-alike.
In that video, that Pacquiao did look like Durk 100. Everyone wanted Pacquiao to come through the whole block so we could see what the hype was about. When we saw him, bro, it was crazy. I tell you, that Pacquiao looked like Durk. No cap.
Lildurk made headlines after it was announced that he had hired a look-alike to take his place and represent him whenever he couldn't show up. The man Pacquiao is a social media influencer who was revealing comments that he looked like Lildurk. Pacquiao mirrored every part of Lildurk, from his hair to tattoos, and most important, he had same eyes as Lildurk. Lildurk's recognition of Pacquiao came a huge responsibility for the social media influencer who never imagined he would get entangled in Durk's web of gang wars. After discovering him online, Lildurk took his relationship with Pacquiao up to a notch and decided to invite him to meet with him in person, and even appeared in Lildurk's music video. Appearing in Lildurk's music video was the only tip of the iceberg, and the story of Pacquiao became Lildurk's pawn as he carried out his gangster activities in ghost mode. Pacquiao hanging around Lildurk became so much suspicious. Fans understood that the idea of having such a look-alike as the spot on the look was exciting, but when Pacquiao began hanging around Lildurk more, it was clear that the relationship was more than content for viewers on social media. It turned out that Lildurk had hired Pacquiao to be his clone in order to carry out his gang activities on the low without gaining attraction from the cops.
When we heard what Durk was up to with the Pacquiao kid, I thought to myself, this man smart as hell. I mean, my man went and copped himself a whole human being just so he could hang around his brodies on the block for real, for real.
Seen in the streets of
Look. Alright. Like that. That's what we gotta do, bro. No, that's exactly it. Just got bro the jacket. You know what I'm saying? Just the whole jacket. Good, just leave the jacket on. Hey, jacket?
Or maybe he's doing them in ghost mode, but I hope he's not doing them. Let's meet on the next video. Bye bye.